Dread it, run from it, it won't change the fact that Rick is inevitable. And no one detests that more than Rick himself. We just got what might be the most depressing episode of Rick and Morty to date, which is crazy because not only has this show gone to some pretty dark places, but we're only 2 episodes into the season. Last week we got a fun team-up turned anime battle of Evil Morty. This week, we got a Severance-esque character study that affirms the cold reality that no matter what, Rick is unable to escape his true nature. Also, I guess the pool is here to stay? What's up with that? As always, we're gonna break down this episode and theorize how this development could impact Rick's arc in the rest of the season. Cause it's clear our beloved science Gramps is really going through it now that all the dangling plot threads in this life are tied up. And before we dive in, if you end up enjoying this video, then please throw it a like and subscribe to the roundtable with notifications on so you never miss a video. Thank you so much. Now let's get started. The cold open to this episode immediately hammers in what I love about this current era of Rick and Morty. Foregoing dialogue for the first minute, as we see a familiar face get into an accident and promptly fix up his RV in the middle of a quiet snowy road, executing every step of this process in a way that feels so over the top, yet effortless. As if this man was naturally a genius, even if he didn't realize it. Spelling out this episode's numbingly bitter thesis before we even know what's going on. You can tell the team behind Rick and Morty are getting more experimental and straying away from the sitcom formula in favor of delivering outside-the-box stories that, while still providing plenty of levity, have something to say about the human condition beyond people suck and nothing matters. They're having a ball sending us on these intense emotional journeys. In this case, Ted's emotional journey.
Everybody's running from something.
Yeah, it turns out Rick likes to treat himself to his own little summer break every year by wiping his memories and traveling to the only place where he isn't the smartest man in the universe, Beloy 6E. It's about 400 light years away from Earth, which, to really put it into perspective, is about a whopping 2,352 billion miles. That's how far Rick is willing to go to get away from himself, because he doesn't want to be Rick Sanchez 24/7, as the way Rick's mind works and the way he operates has become a burden at this point. His superintelligence is no longer a blessing, it's a curse. Not to mention, with his high intellect and resources, people often look to him for favors. Exhibit A, his immediate family. So he finds peace in living as a normal dude named Ted, mingling in a quiet hick town where his everyday problems are exactly the same as any other average Joe. It's a chance to be normal. There's actually a meta layer to this as well, with many actors from The Office voicing characters in this episode, playing different members of Rick's posse. I think the intent behind this is that a 9-to-5 office job is as normal as you can get, and these people represent the normalcy that Rick craves, even through their voice actors. The Hicks of this planet are a century off from first contact, presumably from any other planet in the galaxy, so they're blissfully unaware of who Rick Sanchez is. That name means nothing to them, aiding in Rick's perfect escape from reality. Or at least, it would, but alas, Rick is literally built different, as he's caught in the crossfire of an attempted robbery that literally forces his hand as his robot arm puts the crook out of commission, to Ted and everyone else's shock.
Ted! Daddy! This guy's dying in here!
Because Rick uses this spot as a peaceful getaway, I think this is the one scenario he didn't account for. Everyone here is supposed to be simple-minded buds. Crime shouldn't be a factor. What I think really disturbs Ted isn't that he's got more going on than meets the eye. It's that whoever he really is, he's capable of hurting people effortlessly. With his worldview shattered, Ted retreats to the RV and quickly discovers a message from Hologram Rick, one that implies Rick definitely anticipated Ted stumbling upon his cyborg parts through something more innocent like cooking gone wrong. Something that happens privately and not a whole public spectacle. I mean, there are only like 3 other people around, but you get the idea. I also can't help but to note that Ted methodically triggers the robot arm in order to figure out what's going on, once again illustrating that he can't escape his inherent Rickness no matter how hard he tries. Rick tells Ted to press the blue button, and this whole interaction will be zapped out of his memory, assuming things are hunky-dory. Or if he wants, he can press the red button and become Rick again ASAP, effectively killing Ted. And Ted decides to do neither, making a break from the RV. This is his first act of rebellion against Rick, his rejection and declaration of war.
Just a gentle reminder, you're not a real person, you're me.
We also get acquainted with Marjorie, the woman who owns the bowling alley that's near and dear to the locals and the apple of Ted's eye. Despite Ted coming and going every year, these two share a real connection, and it's that connection that affirms Ted is more than just some character Rick made up. His life here can't be reduced to just Rick kicking it back on vacation. It genuinely matters to him and the people he shares it with. After sharing an intimate night with Marjorie, Ted decides to go rogue and stay in Belloy for the long haul. What could possibly go wrong? This moment felt like it was right out of a sci-fi movie. I adore the cinematic atmosphere of this episode so damn much, dude. Morty tries to bring Ted home, warning that if he resists, things will inevitably get worse. But Ted refuses to listen, kicking off the most tragically ironic events this show has given us in quite some time, as Ted plans to fight back against Rick by ricking out. He wants nothing to do with the mad scientist, yet he ultimately fails to escape him, as everything he does to fight back just embraces the things that makes Rick who he is. For example, anticipating escalation from Rick, Ted preps the bowling alley to fight back, using his brains to transform the place into a death trap that would even cause Kevin McAllister to shed a tear. It makes it all feel futile because even if Ted managed to get his way and live happily ever after on Belloy, he's already begun the transformation into Rick. He's shown how much of a borderline miracle worker he is, and as this episode later goes on to show, he can't put that back in Pandora's box once it's already been opened. People would start to rely on him and treat him as the answer to all their problems. He's already lost his ability to be treated and seen as a normal person. Without him or those around him realizing, he's already being elevated back up to God status. As much of a bummer all of this is, at least we get to momentarily turn off our brains and be wowed by that incredible bowling alley brawl between the Hicks and Ricks. Well, Rick drone bot thingamajigs, but I had to go for the rhyme. If these first two episodes are anything to go off of, then they really want the action to fire off on all cylinders this season, assuming we get plenty of it. And I can't complain at all. It feels like this show is just getting more creative in their combat, even if portals aren't incorporated nearly as much as they used to, though that's by design in these two examples. I also feel like this episode has great suspense when you're watching the first time around, as you're hoping Rick's pals won't die and end up as collateral damage in the war against himself. You almost have the relief of them all making it out unscathed too, until Ted ends up losing his equivalent of Diane, as Marjorie winds up a casualty of the battle. And just like how Rick went on a crusade to hunt down Prime, Ted does the same thing by frantically engineering a vehicle that can travel to Earth so he can exact his revenge and be rid of Rick once and for all. I love how Ted's turned the bowling alley into basically Rick's garage, along with them using cybernetic enhancements and other Rickisms as he prepares for the final stand. It truly is a self-fulfilling prophecy unfolding over the course of 23 minutes. Even Ted's rage towards Rick is exactly how Rick crashes out when dealing with his own adversaries.
There you are, motherfucker. Son of a bitch, I got you.
Crashing into the garage with his bowling-based spacecraft, Ted and his friends are quickly humbled by the protocols put in place by both the garage and the Smith family. And all Ted ended up accomplishing was what he wanted to avoid in the first place back when the robot arm killed that robber. He ended up just hurting the people around him by roping them into his mess and stranding them on an alien planet. From here on out, we see Ted slowly evolve into Rick, specifically Season 1 Rick. His determination to get his friends back home turns into complacency as they start over-relying on him, scoring their own cybernetic enhancements and milking Ted for favors. I don't think Ted's even bothering to fix up the ship. Unfortunately, he grows cynical of their dependency and the fact they hail him as a god, along with the fact that since he can't really get rid of Rick, he doesn't have anyone or anything pushing the next big scientific breakthrough out of him through a need for revenge. But he does seem to find Rick's portal gun and has no problem getting the hang of it, expelling his friends back to Belloy while he just continues to exist as Ted. But at this point, there's really no difference between him and Rick, drinking and burping and slurring his words all the time, doing what Ricks do best in the midst of their origin story, getting shit-faced, partying, and belligerently steamrolling the lives of those who lie beneath him, while he can't be bothered to recognize any of the suffering around him. I also noticed that Space Beth didn't want to stick around unless she could use the pool, which seems like her pulling away from the family a bit, which is surprising given that she's had so much development that's pushing her towards the family. So I wonder if they're going to build upon that in future episodes. And as for the pool itself, itself, I feel like this is gonna end up being the scene of a major set piece by the end of the season. Maybe they just wanted to throw it in there for shits and giggles, but I'd like to hope that they're cooking up something devious. And to really marinate in this downer ending, we learn that Ted's contributions to his Beloy friends has inadvertently destroyed them, with little Mike, the redhead, ending up dead after he got himself killed with his own robot arm. Obviously, their anger is a little misplaced, given that they started leeching off Ted in the first place, but it's still an unfortunate end, especially since they were all so sad to leave and to see Ted kick them out. Now, they never want to see him again. It's bleak, dude.
Fake outsider piece of shit.
Destroying any attachments he has to Beloy, and finding himself at the end of the road, Ted's all but ready to call it quits when he runs out of portal fluid, having no clue how to make more, which might be the only thing that separates him from Rick, as cracking that code was something only Prime and our Rick were ever able to do, and our Rick could only do that because he was going off of the sheer anger and grief that losing Diane and Beth brought him. That same anger was already used up by Ted getting to Earth. Feeling inadequate and as if he can't live up to Rick's genius, Ted starts to over-romanticize his alter ego, believing Rick's not only the better scientist, but the better grandpa and overall person. Someone who has a much more fulfilling life. Which we and Morty both know isn't true, but Morty feeds into it anyway, morbidly giving Ted a self-delete pep talk, telling him how great Rick is, to coerce Ted into pressing the red button and basically kill himself to bring Rick back, with Morty lying out his ass about Rick's own life and happiness.
You're so happy.
And it works. I gotta call out how this echoes the end of the first Unity episode, but with one major difference. Whereas Rick collapsed before he could die, Ted actually goes through with it. But because the differences between Rick and Ted were already surface level at best, there's basically no change between the two personalities whatsoever. I imagine this isn't just Rick going back to business as usual though. I think he feels genuine disappointment. He's not thrilled to be himself once again, and he pities Ted for falling victim to his own nature, which is why the abrupt ending to this episode feels appropriate. When you strive to have a good day or a good week and it seems like everything is going wrong, a knee-jerk reaction is to just move on from it as quickly as possible. Rick wanted to escape himself and created an entirely new identity to do so, only to be hit with the hard reality that no matter what you say or do, at the end of the day, you have to make amends of who you are and that you're stuck with yourself, lest you're doomed to spiral and drag everyone else down with you. Once Rick returns, he quickly accepts that Ted never stood a chance because he was set up to act as someone he could never truly become, someone simple and happy. Yeah, bummer. I think this episode shows that Rick really needs something tangible to drive him, that he himself needs a nemesis that ranks above him, because if not, he's doomed to, well, all of this. Which makes me wonder if we're finally gonna venture outside the central finite curve and introduce a new antagonist who could reignite Rick's flame, and have them stick around for more than a couple of episodes, because unless you're Evil Morty, this show does not like having you as a lingering threat. Anyways, the post-credit shows us Rick's next summer vacation where he's on the verge of tying the knot on another planet before his grandkids intervene, and I just wanted to say, while I appreciated and understood the intent behind the human appearances of those on Beloy 6E, I was a little underwhelmed they didn't have goofier alien designs like this planet. It would have made this bitter pill of an episode a little easier to swallow just by having Rick's buds look a little funny instead of being regular dudes, but I digress. Pour one out for little Mike and Marjorie, y'all. And as always, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. Do you feel bad for Ted? And where do you think things are heading with Rick? Let us know in the comments down below and keep the conversation going by giving me a follow over on Twitter and Instagram at AllTrickVox and at Roundtable Vids. Support us for just $1 over on Patreon, and if you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable with notifications on so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Peace!
What we do here is go back.
Need something to throw on while you draw, study, or sleep? Roundtable Rewind's got you covered. So why not take a stroll down memory lane and subscribe?
No one can tell me what to do.
See you there. Craving something new in the indie scene?
Well, if you're all gonna be such critics, why don't you suggest a better one?
It's great to have so many serialized comedy dramas, but what if we just went all in on the laughs and feel good vibes?
Move on up out of my way. I have something gotta do today. Got no time for all your games.
But I like the way you like to play. You sure you're having a moment to pay some mind to someone who could spend some time with you one day.
right now. My homie Toonrific Tariq is funding the pilot for his adult animated romance comedy. Hey, it's shaping up to be one of the most unique shows in the indie scene.
That's what everybody wants, a straight couple.
You can be a part of animation history by heading to the Kickstarter and becoming a backer by June 10th, 2026. The Kickstarter page also gives you the 411 on the show, the characters, the crew, and more. Check it out by clicking the link in the description.
I want to create a show that the culture is proud to call its own. I want to create Hey, and I want you to help.
Adults love it.